Well, hello everyone. It's great to be back for my entertainment speech for Communications 103 on how American political figures have used insults to convey their message, persuade others, and expose their opponents. I would like to say the 2016 presidential election will certainly be one of the elections that will go down as the most interesting parts of American history, regardless of the outcome. And during this election, we have seen a fair exchange of insults. In the Republican primary alone, businessman Donald Trump would often refer to his opponent, Ted Cruz, as Lion Ted to expose his insincerity and that he's not really who you think he is. And Chris Christie would often call Marco Rubio the typical Washington insider who would only talk about America's greatness while people are desperate and in need of hope. As we move on to the general, the Republican nominee, Donald Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Hillary Clinton, frequently exchange insults across the campaign trail, exposing the insincerity, inexperience, and faults of each other. While some find this childish and tasteless, it needs to be noted that political insults in American history are not new. They've existed for years, and I'm going to give you 4 examples of how long they've been in existence. The first one was in the 1950s when Adlai Stevenson, the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, would frequently insult the Republican Party. At one point, he jokingly said, if they stop lying about the Democrats, we'll stop telling the truth about them. In essence, he's saying, look, if the Republicans quit lying about us, maybe we'll lie for them so that we can prop them up a little bit. Maybe we don't have to constantly be mean to them because all we're doing is telling the truth. That's what the Bible tells us to do, tell the truth, right? Another favorite insult of mine was by Pat Buchanan when he was running for the Republican nomination for president in the 1990s, and he would be going up against Bill Clinton. When asked by individuals, what do you think of Bill Clinton's foreign policy experience? He said, I think President Clinton has enough foreign policy experience. I think President Clinton's foreign policy experience is about as deep as when he went to eat breakfast at the International House of Pancakes. Now, what does this say? President Clinton is inexperienced. He fails in foreign policy. He's terrible at it. I'm better. That's why you should elect me. Another good insult that was also in the American political debate was in 1988 during the vice presidential debate between Republican Senator Dan Quayle of Indiana and Democratic Senator Lloyd Bentsen of Texas. During this debate, Dan Quayle was talking about his experience, and he said, I have as much experience as Jack Kennedy did when he pursued the office of President of the United States. And Lloyd Bentsen, in complete disgust that he would compare himself to John F. Kennedy, says, Senator, I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. And Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy. In this, he's basically saying, Quayle, you're an idiot if you honestly think you are like John F. Kennedy. Don't bring him down to your level to make yourself look good. Quit, just be the typical scum you are and say that, yeah, you lack experience and therefore I should be the next vice president. Now, moving on from that, the last insult that I will be referring to is the one at the 1988 Democratic National Convention, when a Texas Democratic politician named Ann Richards was talking about George Bush. She would constantly refer to him as an idiot, as someone who's clueless on issues, as someone who just doesn't know, and someone, furthermore, who just basically can't relate to it because he's been a privileged person his whole life. He doesn't know what average Americans face. And at the end of her speech, she summarized George Bush with this one quote. Poor George. He can't help it. He was born with a silver foot in his mouth. In essence, what she's saying is, Bush, you act like you know these issues, but you don't. You act like you discovered them, but we've been talking about these issues for years. And on top of that, you can't relate to average Americans about these issues because you have been privileged your whole life. That's a pretty big insult if you want my honest opinion. Now, though these are just a few examples, it is clear that insults in American politics are quite extensive. They've been going back for a long time. After all, isn't politics commonly referred to as the second oldest profession? That's why we do insults, because politicians want to win. So the next time you hear about someone saying, I just wish they would start talking about the issues so that they can relate to us and that they can hear from us, just say, look, I appreciate your concern, but in all seriousness, if they just talked about the issues, you could care less. Politics is about fun. And you know what? Insults are funny, they're memorable, they ignite conversation, and sometimes help poll numbers. So the next time you hear someone say that, just say, look, if you didn't hear those insults, would you be interested in politics? No. Apparently you're interested in it because you're talking about it right now. If you would like more information on this topic, please go to www.msn.com in their article, 26 of the Greatest Insults in Politics. And you can also go on YouTube to find many of these speeches. I'm Caleb Turner for the University of Charleston, Communications 103. Thank you, and God bless.
Okay, it might be a little bit over 7.
Yeah, it's good.